In July of 2015, two teenage boys, Austin Stephanos and Perry Cohen, set out on what was meant to be a carefree fishing trip off the coast of Florida. They were full of energy, excitement, and that reckless confidence that only youth can bring. Both were skilled enough with boats and fishing, and their families never imagined that this little trip would become one of the most disturbing maritime mysteries in recent American history. During the last hours anyone ever heard from them, they posted a short Snapchat message, just 2 words, 2 chilling words that suggested they were in trouble. No one could have guessed that this would be their final communication. Their boat was eventually discovered drifting, 160 kilometers off the coast of Bermuda, eerily empty. No mechanical failure had been found. Instead, investigators discovered that the vessel's battery had been intentionally switched off. That detail alone sparked 1,000 theories, ranging from foul play to mechanical sabotage, and even to the more mysterious forces that defy our logical understanding. To this day, Austin and Perry have never been found. Their story remains a modern tragedy that adds another dark entry into the long list of inexplicable events linked to a notorious region of the Atlantic, the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle, sometimes called the Devil's Triangle, is not an officially recognized territory on any map, but everyone knows of its name. It is an imaginary triangle that connects 3 points: Miami and Florida, the island of Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Inside this wide expanse of ocean, ranging from 1.3 to nearly 4 million square kilometers, lies one of the most infamous mysteries in the world. Its reputation is not built on geography alone, but on centuries of strange incidents, disappearances, and stories that feel as though they belong more to legend than to fact. The Bermuda Triangle has swallowed ships, airplanes, and the people aboard them, often without leaving a single trace. Despite being one of the busiest maritime and aerial routes in the world, connecting the ports of North America, the Caribbean, and Europe, it has become synonymous not with travel, but with disappearance. The more ships and planes that cross, the higher the chance of tragedy, and yet the circumstances of these tragedies often defy natural explanation. The triangle's strange reputation can be traced back centuries. One of the earliest and most important records comes from none other than Christopher Columbus during his first voyage to the Americas in 1492, as his ships neared the region now recognized as the Bermuda Triangle. Columbus reported bizarre phenomena. First, he and his crew witnessed what he described as a great flame of fire crashing into the sea, likely a meteorite, though his frightened sailors had no way of knowing. Weeks later, an unexplained light flickered across the horizon in the dead of night. Even more unsettling, Columbus noted irregularities with his compass. The instrument seemed unreliable in that region, pointing in strange directions. Columbus assumed this was because he was near what he called the true north, but sailors for centuries afterward would repeat similar stories of compass malfunctions in the area. As time went on, more and more accounts accumulated. The most infamous early case came in 1918 with the disappearance of the USS Cyclops, a 542-foot-long Navy cargo ship, carrying 300 men and over 10,000 tons of manganese. The Cyclops vanished without sending a single distress signal, despite being fully equipped to do so. It was last spotted between Barbados and the Chesapeake Bay, but no wreckage was ever found. President Woodrow Wilson himself declared, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." Incredibly, 2 of Cyclops' sister ships would also later vanish in similar fashion, along nearly the same route. And this was just the beginning. Although strange incidents had been reported for centuries, the term Bermuda Triangle itself wasn't coined until 1964. Writer Vincent Gaddis used it in an article titled "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle," where he cataloged a growing list of ships and planes that had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The article captured public imagination. Soon, books, documentaries, and even Hollywood films turned the Bermuda Triangle into a cultural phenomenon. To some, it was a natural hazard, a dangerous sea region prone to storms. To others, it was a supernatural portal, a window into another dimension. or even a hunting ground for extraterrestrials. The deeper one looked into the triangle. The more bizarre the stories became. Throughout the decades, countless ships and aircraft have vanished inside this invisible zone. Among them, several stand out for their sheer strangeness. One of the most notorious cases is that of Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers set out on a routine training mission from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale. They were led by Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, a decorated veteran. Their mission was simple: fly east, conduct practice bomb runs, turn north over the Bahamas, and then return home. But somewhere along the route, something went wrong. Taylor radioed the base, reporting that both his compasses had malfunctioned. He was convinced they were flying over the Florida Keys, but he was, in fact, far off course. Radio communications soon became sporadic and garbled. His final instructions to the squadron were haunting. All planes close up tight. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we'll all ditch together. After that transmission, Flight 19 was never heard from again. 14 airmen disappeared. Adding to the mystery, a PBM Mariner flying boat sent out that same evening to search for them also vanished, along with its 13-man crew. 2 disappearances in the same day, within the same region, under circumstances that remain unexplained. Another eerie case was the luxury cruiser Witchcraft. On the night of December 22, 1967, its owner and a friend set sail to enjoy Miami's Christmas lights from the water. They planned only to go a short distance offshore and anchor. At around 9 p.m., they radioed the Coast Guard, requesting a tow after experiencing minor trouble. The Coast Guard arrived just 20 minutes later, but by the time they reached the reported coordinates, the Witchcraft was gone. Not just the 2 passengers, but the entire boat vanished. Forever. This is the nature of the Bermuda Triangle. Even simple outings can turn into unsolved disappearances, as though the ocean itself swallows what it chews. In January of 1921, a massive 5-masted schooner known as the Carroll A. Deering was found run aground on the treacherous rocks of Diamond Shoals off the coast of North Carolina. When rescuers finally reached the vessel, they discovered something strange. The ship was in good condition, yet it had been completely abandoned. Not a single crew member was on board. Personal belongings, navigational equipment, even the lifeboats were missing. And yet, there was no sign of distress, no evidence of a pirate attack, and no clue as to why an entire crew would simply vanish. It was as though the men had walked off the ship into thin air. The Carroll A. Deering became famously known as the ghost ship of the Outer Banks. What made matters stranger was that around the same time, at least 9 other vessels vanished in similar fashion within the general region now linked to the Bermuda Triangle. Cases like this raised a terrifying question. Were these ships truly being abandoned by choice, or was something in that region forcing crews into sudden, desperate action? Over and over, investigators encountered ships that appeared seaworthy but deserted, their stories lost forever. As the 20th century moved forward, the list of disappearances grew longer. Commercial flights went missing, yachts never returned, fishing boats were swallowed, and in many instances, no debris was ever recovered. What is particularly disturbing is not just the frequency of incidents, but the pattern of sudden silence. Vessels often had time to send distress calls, then simply vanished before rescuers could arrive. Skeptics argue that the Bermuda Triangle is not more dangerous than any other heavily traveled part of the ocean. After all, tens of thousands of ships and planes safely pass through it every year. But what lingers are the cases where the odds defy logic. Storms that appear out of nowhere, compasses that spin without reason, and entire craft that vanish in the span of minutes. Scientists have attempted to provide rational explanations. One common theory points to the Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current that flows directly through the Bermuda Triangle. It moves with incredible speed, sweeping away wreckage, oil slicks, and evidence of disaster before search teams ever have a chance to locate it. In this way, ordinary accidents may appear to be inexplicable vanishings. Another scientific explanation involves methane hydrates, deposits of frozen gas beneath the seafloor. When destabilized, these hydrates can release massive bubbles of methane that rise rapidly to the surface. If a ship were caught in such an eruption, the density of the water beneath it could suddenly decrease, causing the vessel to sink without warning. For aircraft, a sudden release of methane could disrupt air density and engine function, potentially leading to catastrophic failure. While no confirmed event of this nature has been recorded in the triangle, laboratory experiments show it is theoretically possible. Yet even with these explanations, the mysteries remain. Ships like the Carroll A. Deering were found floating intact, not sunk. Planes like Flight 19 were never located at all. The theories explain some, but not all, and the gaps leave room for speculation far beyond science. Among the most enduring alternative explanations are those rooted in the supernatural. Some believe the Bermuda Triangle is home to a time warp or an interdimensional portal. Eyewitnesses over the years have described sudden shifts in the sky, cloud formations that appear like tunnels, or feelings of time distortion. Pilots have reported losing hours or finding themselves hundreds of miles from their expected course without explanation. One particularly famous account came from pilot Bruce Jernan in 1970. He claimed that while flying through the region, his small aircraft was engulfed in a massive cloud that appeared to form a tunnel of light. When he emerged, he realized he had somehow traveled hundreds of miles in a fraction of the expected time. He described it as though he had passed through a space-time tunnel. Skeptics dismissed his story as exaggeration, but others took it as evidence that the triangle might truly bend the laws of physics. And then, of course, there are the theories involving extraterrestrials. According to this perspective, the Bermuda Triangle functions as a hunting ground or a surveillance zone. Advocates of this theory point to the sheer number of disappearances without wreckage. They argue that ships and planes are not sinking or crashing at all. They are being taken. Abductions by alien craft, concealed beneath the ocean or hidden in the skies, have become a favorite explanation among paranormal enthusiasts. The idea is not entirely new. Since the mid-20th century, reports of unidentified flying objects over the Caribbean and Atlantic have been frequent. If the ocean itself could conceal advanced alien bases, then perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is less a natural hazard and more a strategic location for extraterrestrial activity. Even more unsettling are the testimonies from sailors and pilots who claim to have seen strange lights under the water or in the sky before losing colleagues to the triangle. One report described a massive glowing object beneath the surface of the sea, moving faster than any submarine could. Another told of bright orbs in the clouds following planes until they lost contact. To some, these are nothing more than misidentified natural phenomena. To others, they are the smoking gun. As decades of disappearances accumulated, the Bermuda Triangle's legend grew. By the 1970s, it was a full-fledged cultural phenomenon. Books sold millions of copies, with titles promising to reveal the secrets of the triangle. Television specials speculated on Atlantis, aliens, and lost dimensions. The media frenzy made the region one of the most famous mysteries in the world, rivaling even the pyramids or Stonehenge. And yet, the deaths and disappearances were not mere stories. Families lost fathers, sons, mothers, daughters. Sailors never returned to port. Pilots never landed. The Bermuda Triangle was no mere legend to those left behind. It was a wound that never healed. What makes the story even stranger is the way official organizations respond. The United States Coast Guard and Navy both acknowledge the region's reputation, but insist there is nothing extraordinary about it. They attribute accidents to human error, weather, and natural hazards. And yet, despite these reassurances, files on triangle-related disappearances are thick with unanswered questions. Why no wreckage? Why no signals? Why so many similar cases spread across decades? Some investigators go further still, suggesting that Atlantis, the mythical sunken civilization, could be at the heart of it all. According to this theory, the Bermuda Triangle may hide the ruins of advanced technology that interferes with modern navigation and communications. Giant crystal energy sources, supposedly left behind by the Atlanteans, might still pulse beneath the sea, disrupting compasses and engines. While mainstream science dismisses such ideas as fantasy, the legend of Atlantis remains tightly intertwined with the Bermuda Triangle in popular imagination. It is this blend of fact and myth, of tragedy and legend, that has kept the Bermuda Triangle alive in public consciousness. Every new disappearance renews the fear, and every strange explanation feeds the mystery. Is it all just coincidence, a cruel combination of weather, current, and human error? Or is something more at work, something beyond our world? The mystery persists, because for every theory offered, another question rises. And until wreckage is found, until solid evidence is recovered, the Bermuda Triangle remains a void where certainty vanishes. Just like the ships and planes that dared to cross it. In more recent decades, the Bermuda Triangle has not lost its reputation, nor has it stopped claiming victims. While the height of public fascination came during the 1970s and 80s, new cases continue to emerge, keeping the mystery alive well into the 21st century. Families still wait for answers, investigators still search, and the sea still refuses to give up its secrets. One such modern case was the disappearance of the Jian, a mysterious tanker found drifting off the coast of Queensland, Australia, in 2006. Though technically outside the Bermuda Triangle, its story became tied to the triangle's legend because of its similarities. The ship appeared in perfect condition, lights on, no signs of struggle, but no crew on board. The lifeboats were still attached, suggesting no one had left by choice. Investigators searched for records of the vessel's registration, its last port of call, or its owners, but nothing came up. The ship itself seemed like a ghost, appearing from nowhere, abandoned without explanation. While not geographically connected to Bermuda, the incident echoed the triangle's haunted reputation and reminded people that our oceans still hold unexplainable mysteries. Closer to the triangle itself, stories like that of Austin Stephanos and Perry Cohen in 2015 continue to stir fear. Their boat was found empty, their cell phones showing fragments of messages, their lives cut off in the middle of youth. Though some point to storms, others whisper that their case joins a long list of vanishings tied to forces beyond weather or chance. Another chilling case occurred in 2003 when a private, aircraft-carrying businessman and adventurer, Frank Navarro, disappeared en route from the Bahamas to Florida. Navarro was an experienced pilot, and weather conditions were reported as clear. His plane vanished from radar without distress calls. Despite extensive searches, no wreckage was ever found. His family, like so many before them, was left with nothing but questions. Technology, too, has advanced, yet it seems even satellites and modern tracking cannot solve the Bermuda Triangle. GPS systems sometimes fail inexplicably. Aircraft transponders flicker off, and communication systems drop out without warning. Pilots and sailors report their instruments spinning, alarms beeping and screens going dark, only for the systems to return minutes later, sometimes with the craft miles away from their expected position. For those who experience it, these events are terrifying. For scientists, they remain anomalies without clear explanation. What makes the 21st century more haunting is the presence of real-time witnesses. Social media, text messages, and GPS pings sometimes capture the last moments before disappearance. In one case, a sailor recorded video footage of strange lights above the water, just hours before his yacht was reported missing. The video was dismissed by skeptics as a drone or a reflection, but the yacht was never found. The lights remain unexplained. This new era of digital evidence adds another layer to the Bermuda Triangle's legend. In earlier centuries, sailors' tales could be dismissed as superstition or exhaustion. Today, phone cameras and satellite logs bring hard data, and yet the disappearances still occur. Some theorists suggest that these modern vanishings are part of a broader pattern of experimentation. According to them, extraterrestrials may not merely be abducting humans randomly, but systematically. The triangle, they argue, is a controlled zone, where tests on human technology, biology, and psychology are conducted. This would explain why some vessels are found abandoned, the crew taken, the craft left as a warning or a decoy. The unnerving consistency of total vanishings, boats with no distress calls, planes with no wreckage, fits this unsettling narrative. Others believe the triangle is not only a hunting ground but a gateway. In this theory, disappearances are not abductions but transports. Vessels and aircraft caught in certain conditions slip through a rift in space-time, vanishing from our world entirely. If true, then the crews of Flight 19, the men of the Cyclops, and countless others may not have died at all. They may simply be somewhere else. Eyewitness accounts feed these ideas. Fishermen describe towering walls of water appearing without warning, only to vanish moments later. Pilots recall sudden banks of clouds, thick and luminous, that seem to swallow light itself. Some survivors have claimed they lost hours, or that their watches ran backward, or that they landed far from their intended destination with no idea how. Such accounts are easily dismissed by skeptics as tricks of memory or stress, but they share uncanny similarities across decades and generations. The enigma of the Bermuda Triangle is not just about those who disappeared. It is also about those who returned with stories that defy belief. One pilot interviewed in 2009 described an event eerily similar to Bruce Gernon's 1970 time tunnel experience. Flying from Puerto Rico to Florida, he reported entering a spiraling vortex of clouds. His instruments went haywire, and he felt a sense of weightlessness. When he emerged, he was already nearing Miami, though the flight should have taken another hour. He logged his experience, but the report was quietly filed away. Only in later years did he speak publicly, fueling speculation that time distortions in the triangle may be more than just imagination. The persistence of such stories, despite advances in technology, raises an uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not an anomaly to be solved, but a permanent feature of our world, a region where natural laws bend, where dimensions overlap, and where humanity comes face to face with forces it cannot control. In the age of satellites and global tracking, it seems absurd that ships and planes can still vanish without a trace. Yet the Triangle remains one of the few places where this continues to happen. Search operations deploy sonar, radar, drones, and yet often nothing is found. For the families left behind, this is worse than death. It is endless uncertainty. Did their loved ones drown? Were they abducted? Are they trapped in another world? This lack of closure is why the Bermuda Triangle endures as one of humanity's greatest enigmas. It is not simply the loss of ships or planes. It is the silence afterward, the refusal of the sea to return the dead, the stubborn absence of wreckage. Each case is a story unfinished, a mystery with no ending. And in that silence, imagination takes over. For every rational explanation, there will always be another whisper. Of portals, of Atlantis, of alien craft rising from the deep. Because in the Bermuda Triangle, the line between science and legend has always been thin. From the very first stories of strange disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle, one question has lingered in the minds of both scientists and ordinary people alike. Why? Why this region? Why so many vanishings? So many mysteries concentrated in one stretch of ocean? Across decades, countless theories have emerged. Some rooted in physics, others in folklore, and still others in conspiracies whispered in the halls of governments. The most traditional scientific explanation revolves around weather and natural forces. The waters of the Triangle lie in one of the most unpredictable parts of the Atlantic. Hurricanes are born here, massive storms that can swallow ships whole. Sudden squalls, violent downdrafts, and waterspouts can strike without warning, overwhelming even modern vessels. Add to this the Gulf Stream, a powerful current that can quickly disperse wreckage, making it appear as though ships vanished without a trace. To many meteorologists and oceanographers, the Triangle's mysteries are nothing more than tragic accidents amplified by geography. Yet this explanation, though rational, does not satisfy everyone. After all, hurricanes strike across the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, but no other region has built such a reputation for vanishings. Something about Bermuda seems different, something deeper. One of the most intriguing natural theories is the methane hydrate hypothesis. Beneath the seafloor of the Atlantic lie vast deposits of methane gas, frozen in crystalline form. Scientists propose that under certain conditions, these hydrates can destabilize, releasing massive bubbles of gas into the water. Such an event would reduce the density of the ocean, causing ships to lose buoyancy and sink almost instantly. At the same time, the gas rising into the air could stall aircraft engines, bringing planes down as well. Laboratory experiments have demonstrated this effect on a small scale, leading some to believe that methane eruptions could explain at least part of the Bermuda Triangle mystery. Still, this theory faces challenges. No direct evidence of such eruptions in the triangle has been found, and even if they occur, they would not explain the total absence of wreckage in so many cases. Skeptics argue that while methane hydrates are real, their role in the triangle remains speculative. Another possibility lies in magnetic anomalies. Navigators for centuries have noted that compasses in the triangle sometimes behave erratically. Some claim that the region is one of the rare places on Earth where magnetic north and true north align, creating confusion in navigation. Others suggest that localized magnetic disturbances interfere with instruments, leading pilots and captains astray. In extreme cases, sudden magnetic shifts might even disrupt electrical systems altogether, explaining the strange reports of equipment failures. But again, this theory explains only part of the puzzle. Magnetic anomalies may cause disorientation, but they cannot erase aircraft from radar or prevent wreckage from washing ashore. For every scientific hypothesis, there seems to be an unanswered question, a hole that facts cannot fill. And it is in those holes that the more mysterious explanations take root. Atlantis, the legendary lost city, has long been linked to the Bermuda Triangle. Since Plato's writings, Atlantis has been imagined as a powerful civilization that disappeared beneath the waves. Some theorists believe the ruins of Atlantis lie at the heart of the triangle, and that its advanced technology continues to affect the region. Energy crystals, power grids, or forgotten machines, they say, still operate deep under the sea, creating disturbances that warp time, space, and the human mind. Though archaeologists dismiss this as fantasy, the idea remains one of the most enduring legends associated with the triangle. Even stranger are the extraterrestrial theories. According to these, the triangle is not a natural hazard at all, but a deliberate zone of activity. Some imagine it as a base hidden beneath the ocean, where alien craft rise and fall like submarines, capturing humans for study. Others see it as a gateway, an interstellar highway intersection, where Earth overlaps with travel routes between stars. Ships and planes that disappear are not lost but taken, drawn into alien experiments or transported to other worlds. Survivors' reports of strange lights, glowing clouds, or time distortions fuel these beliefs. While scientists reject the notion of alien involvement, for many it remains more convincing than weather or magnetic fields. After all, the absence of wreckage feels less like an accident and more like an abduction. Then there are the whispers of human secrecy, government conspiracies, and military experiments hidden behind the veil of the triangle. The U.S. Navy has long maintained a presence in the region, with testing grounds, submarine bases, and advanced research facilities. Some suggest that many disappearances are the result of secret projects gone wrong, experiments with new propulsion systems, weapons tests, or even attempts at teleportation. One particularly persistent legend ties the Bermuda Triangle to the infamous Philadelphia experiment of 1943, in which the U.S. Navy allegedly attempted to make a ship invisible using electromagnetic fields. According to conspiracy theorists, the experiment succeeded, but at a terrible cost. Some sailors were said to have gone mad. Others fused into the steel of the ship itself. Officially, the Navy denies that any such experiment ever occurred. Yet believers argue that the Bermuda Triangle is where those experiments continued in secret, explaining the sudden vanishings and distorted reports from survivors. Another version of this theory claims that the triangle houses an underwater base known as AUTEC, Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center, located in the Bahamas. Officially, AUTEC is a research facility where the Navy tests sonar, submarines, and other undersea technologies. Unofficially, it is rumored to be the site of experiments involving alien technology, time travel, and interdimensional gateways. Locals sometimes refer to it as the Underwater Area 51. Whether truth or myth, AUTEC adds fuel to the fire of speculation. The truth may lie in some mixture of these theories. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not the work of aliens, Atlantis, or secret experiments alone, but a convergence of forces, natural and unnatural, that together create a perfect storm of mystery. What cannot be denied is the emotional power of the legend. Families devastated by loss find it easier to believe their loved ones were taken by forces beyond comprehension than to accept they simply drowned. Sailors and pilots facing the vast empty sea take comfort in stories of otherworldly explanations. And governments too may find it convenient to let the legend thrive. For mystery can sometimes hide truths more dangerous than fiction, whether through storms, methane bubbles, magnetic fields, alien abductions, or human secrecy. The Bermuda Triangle endures because it embodies our greatest fears: the loss of control, the unknown, and the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. And as long as the ocean continues to claim ships without explanation, as long as the sky swallows planes without wreckage, the theories, wild and scientific alike, will never stop. For every ship that never returns and every plane that vanishes into silence, there are a few rare cases of survival, stories carried back from the Bermuda Triangle, that give us a fleeting glimpse of what may happen inside. These accounts are often fragmentary, surreal, and unsettling. They cannot always be verified, yet they persist, echoing each other across decades, like fragments of a puzzle we cannot quite assemble. One of the most famous such accounts came from Bruce Jernan, a pilot who in 1970 flew with his father and a business associate from Andros Island in the Bahamas toward Miami. Just minutes into the flight, they encountered what appeared to be a strange cloud formation, a perfectly round, swirling mass that seemed unnatural. As they entered it, Jernan described a sensation of weightlessness, as though gravity itself had loosened its grip. The cloud formed a tunnel, spiraling with light, and for several minutes they were trapped inside. His instruments failed, compasses spun wildly, and all sense of time seemed distorted. When they emerged, they were stunned to find themselves over Miami, though their flight should have taken nearly an hour longer. Jernan became convinced he had passed through a time tunnel, and his story remains one of the most compelling first-hand accounts of a temporal anomaly in the Triangle. Other pilots have told similar tales. In 2009, a private flyer reported entering dense, glowing fog during a trip from Puerto Rico. His radios went dead, GPS malfunctioned, and for half an hour he felt suspended in limbo, unable to measure speed or direction. When the fog cleared, he realized he had covered a distance that should have taken hours in only a fraction of the time. Terrified, he refused to fly through that region again, convinced he had brushed against something beyond human understanding. Survivors at sea have also added their voices to the mystery. Fishermen from the Bahamas tell of encountering towering walls of water that rose suddenly, not like normal waves, but vertical curtains of the ocean itself. One man swore that his boat was lifted into the air and dropped miles away, his crew unharmed, but their watches all reading different times. Another survivor described losing sight of the horizon completely, as though swallowed by a dome of light. The event lasted only minutes, but when the horizon reappeared, they had drifted far from their original course. In some cases, survivors speak of strange lights, bright orbs hovering above the sea, moving with impossible speed. A Cuban sailor who lived through such an encounter in the 1980s recalled a beam of white light illuminating his vessel, followed by a period of unconsciousness. When he awoke, the night sky had shifted, and his compass no longer pointed north. He and his crew eventually found land, but none could explain what had happened in the missing hours. These accounts, while extraordinary, often share common threads: distorted time, malfunctioning instruments, overwhelming light or fog, and sudden displacement. Psychologists sometimes argue these are products of stress, fatigue, or hallucination. Yet when so many accounts echo one another, the dismissal feels incomplete. The story of Joshua Harris, a sailor from Florida, is one of the more haunting modern testimonies. In 1998, Harris set out alone on a small yacht from Key West to Nassau. 3 days later, he returned, confused, disoriented, and unable to explain what had happened. According to his report, his instruments began to fail shortly after he entered the open waters of the Triangle. A thick greenish fog enveloped his boat. He recalled hearing low humming sounds like distant engines, though no ship was visible. Then came silence. When he next regained awareness, his yacht was drifting aimlessly near the Florida coast, sails torn, with no memory of the missing time. His journal, however, told a different story. In shaky handwriting, he had scrawled notes about beings of light and a door in the sky. Harris later refused all interviews and lived the rest of his life quietly, avoiding the sea. Sometimes the survivors' stories are even darker. In 1969, a freighter called SS Milton I. Atreides reported losing radio contact for several hours while passing through the triangle. When communications were re-established, the crew sounded panicked. They described seeing a floating city above the water. Like a mirage, but impossibly detailed. Towers of glass, shining bridges, structures not of this earth. When the Coast Guard finally located the ship, its crew was shaken and exhausted. Official records list the incident as a communication malfunction, but sailors who were there maintained their story until their deaths. Even military personnel have contributed eerie testimonies. A former Navy radar operator once described detecting a massive, unidentified object rising from beneath the ocean surface, accelerating faster than any submarine could move, and vanishing into the sky. Though his account was never officially acknowledged, it mirrors dozens of similar claims about USOs, unidentified submersible objects, that allegedly haunt the waters of the Triangle. For skeptics, these stories are folklore, embellished by fear and retold until myth replaces fact. But for those who believe, the testimonies of survivors form the backbone of the Bermuda Triangle legend. After all, disappearances can be explained away as accidents. But survivors? They bring back evidence in the form of memory, raw emotion, and strange logs of distorted time and space. Perhaps the most unsettling detail is how survivors often share one final element: the silence. They describe a sudden absence of sound. No wind, no waves, no engines, not even the sound of their own breath. As though for a moment the world itself holds still. And in that silence something happens that words can never fully capture. For centuries, the sea has inspired legends, but few places on Earth have carved as deep a place in the human imagination as the Bermuda Triangle. Beyond the sailors' logs and military records, the Triangle has grown into a cultural phenomenon, shaping books, movies, songs, and even video games. It has become more than a location. It is a symbol, a shorthand for the unknown. The idea of cursed waters predates the name Bermuda Triangle. Sailors in the age of exploration whispered about the Devil's Sea and the Sea of Doom, describing it as a place where ships were swallowed without a trace. But it was in the 20th century that the Triangle was truly born. In 1964, Vincent Gaddis published his article, The Deadly Bermuda Triangle, in Argosy magazine. It electrified readers. Suddenly, an obscure region of the Atlantic became a household phrase. Gaddis suggested that dozens of ships and planes had vanished in the area, hinting at forces beyond science. Whether intentional or not, his writing sparked a cultural wildfire. By the 1970s, the Bermuda Triangle had become a pop culture juggernaut. Charles Berlitz, a linguist and paranormal researcher, released his book The Bermuda Triangle in 1974. It became an international bestseller, translated into dozens of languages. Berlitz claimed the disappearances were connected to extraterrestrials, ancient Atlantean technology, or interdimensional portals. Critics dismissed the book as sensationalist pseudoscience, but for millions of readers, it was their first introduction to the mystery. For many, Berlitz's vivid descriptions and speculative theories cemented the Triangle as one of the world's greatest enigmas. Hollywood quickly followed. In 1977, the film The Bermuda Triangle dramatized the mystery, blending real disappearances with fictional terror. Other movies used the Triangle as a setting for science fiction, horror, or adventure. 1978, Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind even alluded to Flight 19, the squadron of torpedo bombers lost in 1945, suggesting they had been abducted by aliens. The image of long-vanished aviators stepping out of a UFO became one of cinema's most iconic references to the legend. Television also embraced the phenomenon. Documentaries aired throughout the 1970s and 1980s, often with ominous narration and dramatized reconstructions. Episodes of In Search of, narrated by Leonard Nimoy, presented the Triangle as a cosmic riddle. Later, shows like Unsolved Mysteries and Ancient Aliens kept the story alive, weaving it into narratives about UFOs and lost civilizations. The triangle became television's go-to metaphor for danger, and the unexplained music, too, found inspiration in the Bermuda Triangle. Barry Manilow recorded a song simply titled Bermuda Triangle, playfully warning of its dangers. Rock bands referenced it as a metaphor for love, loss, or chaos. Even electronic and jazz musicians found in it a symbol of disorientation and mystery. The triangle was no longer just geography. It was metaphor. To say you were lost in the Bermuda Triangle meant you were caught in confusion, danger, or passion. As the decades passed, the triangle seeped into children's culture as well. Cartoons like Scooby-Doo and DuckTales featured episodes about the region. Comic books imagined superheroes vanishing into it, fighting interdimensional foes. Video games turned the triangle into a setting for exploration, from pixelated oceans in the 1980s to expansive open-world adventures in modern times. For younger generations, the Bermuda Triangle was often their first encounter with the concept of an unsolved mystery. The allure has also reached literature beyond Berlitz. Science fiction writers such as John Wallace Spencer, and later more mainstream novelists, drew on the triangle as a backdrop for stories of survival, alien abduction, and time travel. Writers loved the triangle because it provided a canvas where natural law could be suspended. Within its borders, anything was possible. Ships could cross into other eras, aviators could vanish into alternate dimensions, and ancient powers could awaken from the deep. The cultural impact was not without skepticism. Scientists, journalists, and naval historians worked to debunk the myth, pointing out that many so-called disappearances were exaggerated or misreported. Insurance companies never considered the region more dangerous than other heavily traveled seas. Yet the skeptics could not erase the fascination. The very act of debunking seemed only to fuel curiosity, reminding people that the triangle had earned a place in the imagination, whether the statistics supported it or not. In the late 20th century, the Bermuda Triangle became a fixture of conspiracy culture. As UFO sightings grew in popularity, so too did the belief that the triangle was a hub of alien activity. Some claimed it was a base for extraterrestrials beneath the ocean floor. Others linked it to Atlantis, suggesting the sunken city's advanced technology still operated beneath the waves. Books, magazines, and later websites thrived on these ideas, weaving the triangle into a larger tapestry of mysteries that included Area 51, Roswell, and the pyramids of Egypt. Even in the 21st century, the Bermuda Triangle continues to inspire. Streaming platforms host new documentaries each year, often with glossy graphics and dramatic reenactments. Social media, particularly TikTok and YouTube, has breathed new life into the mystery, with creators retelling classic disappearances and speculating about hidden truths. Conspiracy forums keep the legend alive, merging it with modern theories about simulation, parallel universes, and even government experiments. The enduring cultural power of the Bermuda Triangle lies not in its geography, but in its ambiguity. Unlike other mysteries that have been solved with time, the triangle resists closure. There is no single explanation, no definitive proof. That uncertainty is fertile soil for the imagination. It allows every generation to reinvent the legend, to project their fears and hopes onto it. The 1970s, it was aliens in Atlantis. In the 1990s, it was conspiracies and government secrets. Today, it may be simulations and multiverse theories. The triangle evolves with us, remaining forever relevant. One could argue the Bermuda Triangle has transcended the ocean. It now exists in the cultural psyche as much as on the map. It is a symbol of mystery itself, a reminder that even in an age of satellites and science, there remain places where the unknown lingers. Whether fact, fiction, or something in between, the Bermuda Triangle has ensured its immortality, not by swallowing ships, but by capturing the human imagination. In the 21st century, mystery has to wrestle with measurement. Satellites monitor every ocean current, aircraft are tracked by radar and GPS, and ships are equipped with communication systems far more advanced than those available in the past. Yet despite these advances, the Bermuda Triangle continues to provoke questions. Instead of silencing the legend, science has provided new tools to analyze it, and in some cases, new mysteries. One of the most prominent scientific explanations involves meteorology. The region of the triangle is prone to sudden, violent weather changes. In recent years, satellite data has revealed microbursts, localized, intense downdrafts of air that can strike with hurricane-like force. A microburst can cause seas to rise abruptly with waves as high as 15 meters. For a ship or plane caught in its path, the event would feel catastrophic and sudden, providing a rational explanation for many disappearances. Unlike large storms that can be tracked, microbursts appear and vanish within minutes, leaving no time for distress signals. Another meteorological factor is the presence of hexagonal cloud formations. In 2016, NASA researchers identified strange hexagon-shaped clouds over the Atlantic that could produce air bombs, powerful blasts of wind descending toward the sea. These blasts can reach speeds of 160 kilometers per hour, enough to capsize vessels or bring down aircraft. The Bermuda Triangle lies directly in the path of such formations, suggesting that its reputation may stem from a perfect storm of geography and atmosphere. Oceanography has also contributed new insights. The Gulf Stream, a massive ocean current that flows through the triangle, is one of the strongest in the world. It moves at speeds up to 5.6 miles per hour, faster than many rivers. Modern research has shown how this current can rapidly disperse wreckage, carrying debris hundreds of miles away. This could explain why so many searches for missing ships and planes yield nothing. The ocean quite literally sweeps the evidence out of sight. In 2021, Norwegian scientists studying methane hydrate deposits provided a possible explanation that captured global attention. Methane hydrates, frozen gas trapped beneath the seafloor, can destabilize and release enormous bubbles of methane gas. Laboratory experiments show that such bubbles can reduce the density of water, causing ships to sink abruptly. While methane eruptions are rare, seismic activity or temperature shifts could trigger them. If this happens beneath a ship, the vessel would lose buoyancy almost instantly. For aircraft, a sudden release of methane into the atmosphere could disrupt engines or cause rapid loss of lift. Though not yet directly observed in the Bermuda Triangle, this phenomenon remains a strong candidate. More recently, climate scientists have pointed to the triangle as a hotspot for extreme weather linked to global warming. Rising ocean temperatures in the Caribbean and Atlantic are fueling stronger hurricanes. Between 2020 and 2022 alone, several Category 4 and 5 storms crossed the region, producing waves and wind conditions almost identical to those described in triangle legends. These storms are now tracked in real time, reducing the mystery. But before the satellite era, they would have appeared like sudden, inexplicable assaults. Technology has also reframed the mystery. Modern aircraft rarely disappear without a trace thanks to GPS and satellite tracking. Yet accidents still occur, and when they do, conspiracy theories reignite. In 2017, a small twin-engine aircraft vanished near Eleuthera, Bahamas, with 4 people on board, including a New York entrepreneur. The plane's last radar position placed it in the triangle. Despite search efforts, no wreckage was ever recovered. The case baffled investigators and fueled speculation that, even in the age of satellites, the triangle can swallow without explanation. Engineers have also looked at magnetic anomalies. Historically, sailors reported compasses behaving strangely in the triangle, pointing toward true north instead of magnetic north. While this is not unique to the region, magnetic declination maps show that the triangle does sit near one of the places where compass variation shifts dramatically. For early navigators without precise instruments, such anomalies could have led to catastrophic navigational errors. Modern science has demystified this effect, but it explains why early reports often described compasses spinning or giving false readings. Perhaps the most fascinating new hypothesis involves rogue waves. In 2020, researchers at the University of Southampton in the UK ran simulations showing how the geography of the triangle could amplify wave patterns. Rogue waves, massive walls of water more than 30 meters high, were once thought to be maritime myths. Now, satellite data has confirmed their existence. These waves can appear seemingly out of nowhere, the result of multiple smaller waves converging. For ships, encountering a rogue wave can be fatal. For planes flying low, the turbulence could be devastating. The Bermuda Triangle, with its unique currents and storms, may be one of the most likely places for such waves to form. Despite these rational explanations, mysteries remain. In 2023, a team from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution mapped sections of the seabed near the Bahamas and discovered deep, unexplored trenches. Some of these sinkholes and blue holes extend farther than expected, creating undersea landscapes that remain largely unmapped. Could some wreckage lie hidden in these depths beyond the reach of current technology? The possibility keeps the legend alive, for even as science explains much, the ocean itself holds back secrets. Interestingly, not all scientists dismiss the cultural aspect of the Bermuda Triangle. Psychologists studying folklore argue that the human mind is drawn to patterns of mystery. When a ship sinks outside the triangle, it is called an accident. When it sinks inside, it becomes part of the legend. This selective perception ensures the triangle's immortality. The more we study it, the more the myth adapts, absorbing both fact and speculation. The years 2024 and 2025 have seen a new trend: interdisciplinary studies that combine oceanography, meteorology, and even AI-driven simulations. Using machine learning, researchers analyze centuries of shipping records to identify patterns of loss. Early results suggest that the triangle is statistically no more dangerous than any other busy maritime corridor. Yet even the scientists admit that anomalies, events that defy easy categorization, still appear. And for those anomalies, the legend continues to thrive. What science has shown us is not that the Bermuda Triangle is a supernatural zone, but that it is a perfect stage for chaos. Storms, waves, currents, and human error collide there more frequently than in calmer seas. Yet science cannot erase the human desire for mystery. The rational explanations coexist with the irrational allure. People want the triangle to remain unsolved because it represents something rare in the modern world: the possibility that not everything has an answer. When science reaches its limits, imagination takes over. For the Bermuda Triangle, this has always been the case. Beyond hurricanes, rogue waves, and magnetic shifts lies another realm of explanation, one built not on measurement, but on myth, speculation, and wonder. These theories may not stand on scientific ground, but they thrive in the collective imagination, ensuring the triangle remains forever enigmatic. Among the most enduring theories is the idea of extraterrestrial involvement. Since the 1950s, UFO sightings have been linked to the triangle. Proponents suggest that the region serves as a base for alien spacecraft, hidden beneath the waves. According to these theories, ships and planes do not sink. They are abducted. Charles Berlitz's best-selling book in the 1970s popularized this view, blending reports of strange lights with the disappearance of Flight 19. For believers, the triangle is less an oceanic danger zone and more a cosmic doorway, a place where Earth and otherworldly visitors interact. A variation of this theory suggests that the triangle is home to an interdimensional portal. Writers have long speculated that the disappearances are not sinkings at all, but crossings into parallel worlds. In some accounts, pilots describe clouds that seem to open like tunnels, glowing with strange light. Survivors claim to have lost time, emerging hundreds of miles from their expected position with no memory of the journey. These stories inspire the idea that the triangle contains rips in the fabric of space-time, gateways to other universes where ships and planes may wander forever. No discussion of the Bermuda Triangle's fantastical explanations would be complete without Atlantis. The legend of the lost continent has captivated humanity for millennia, and some theorists place it squarely within the triangle. According to this view, Atlantis was not only a city, but a civilization of immense technological power. Its energy sources, possibly based on crystals or unknown forms of magnetism, continue to operate beneath the sea. Ships and planes vanish not by accident, but because they interact with this dormant technology. Popular culture embraced this idea, merging two of the greatest legends, the sunken city and the cursed sea, into one powerful myth. Some writers expand on this Atlantean theory, suggesting that the Bimini Road, an underwater rock formation near the Bahamas, is evidence of ancient ruins. Discovered in 1968, the formation resembles a paved path. Scientists identify it as a natural beach rock formation, but believers insist it is proof of Atlantis, a remnant of a long-forgotten highway. To them, the Bimini Road is the visible edge of a buried empire, whose energy fields distort navigation and draw vessels into the deep. Mystical explanations also invoke the supernatural. Spiritualists describe the triangle as a psychic vortex, a place where Earth's energies converge. In this view, ley lines, mystical alignments of the planet's energy, intersect in the Atlantic, creating a whirlpool of power. Ships and planes entering this zone are overwhelmed by forces beyond physical law. To some, these energies are neutral but overwhelming. To others, they are malevolent, a kind of planetary curse. Another theory imagines the Bermuda Triangle as a testing ground for secret human experiments. During the Cold War, stories spread that governments, especially the United States, used the region for clandestine weapons trials. Rumors of invisibility technology emerged from the infamous Philadelphia experiment myth, and some suggested that the triangle was an extension of such research. According to this belief, disappearances occur when vessels accidentally collide with hidden military operations. Though unsupported, the idea fed into broader conspiracy culture, keeping the triangle relevant in an age of suspicion. Perhaps the most poetic explanations involve time itself. Writers and storytellers have described the triangle as a place where time folds. A ship might sail into the 18th century. A plane might emerge decades later unchanged. These tales of time slips fascinate because they blend history with possibility. They suggest that the triangle is not simply dangerous but wondrous, a doorway to humanity's past and future. In some versions, survivors claim to have seen ghostly ships, or to have traveled for what felt like hours, only to find that mere minutes had passed. Such stories may be impossible to verify, but they embody the very essence of mystery. Cultural imagination has embraced these theories because they serve a deeper human need. Science can explain storms and currents, but it cannot satisfy our hunger for wonder. The idea that the triangle might hide alien cities, portals, or forgotten civilizations transforms fear into fascination. The unknown becomes not only a threat, but also a promise that there are still secrets in the world worth pursuing. The triangle's role as a cultural mirror is especially visible in how its theories evolve. In the 1970s, amid fascination with UFOs, aliens dominated the narrative. In the 1980s and 1990s, with the rise of conspiracy culture, secret experiments and government plots took center stage. Today, in the era of multiverse speculation and simulation theory, the triangle is reimagined as a glitch in reality, a cosmic error in the code of existence. Each generation reinvents the legend according to its own fears and dreams. Even skeptics acknowledge that the fantastical theories serve a purpose. They remind us that the ocean is still vast, that there remain places where certainty dissolves. Whether or not aliens patrol the depths or Atlantis hums beneath the waves, the stories keep alive a sense of wonder, often missing from modern life. As the story of the Bermuda Triangle closes, one truth remains: it is not the ocean that makes the triangle mysterious, but us. Our fears, our imagination, our relentless search for meaning, these are the forces that keep the legend alive. Whether explained by science or expanded by myth, the Bermuda Triangle endures as one of the greatest symbols of mystery in human history. If you enjoyed diving into the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss any of our mind-blowing stories. Let's explore the unknown together.